Hey, what is up guys? It's Stan here back with another video. So in the last video, I talked about the 5 things why I love the 38-inch ultra-wide monitor from LG, the 38GL950G I've got behind me. In this video, I want to follow up with the 5 things I dislike about this monitor to help you make an educated decision on your potential purchase. Since I did 1 through 5 on the last video, I'm going to start at 5 and work my way up to 1 on this one. So at number 5, a major disappointment on this monitor for me was the stand. At 37.5 inches wide, the stand just feels too flimsy for a monitor this wide. And especially with the plastic base on the bottom and the little bit of wobble that you get, any little bit of wobble gets exaggerated since it's so wide, and I feel like LG could have done a little bit better on providing a little bit better stand. One potential solution is to pick up a monitor arm like I did. I picked up a Ergotron Amazon Basics arm that you can see right here. It's mounted and the monitor is floating. So it's a very simple fix, and since it's a VESA compatible monitor, you just screw it in and everything's fine. But I would have liked to see a better monitor stand. At number 4, a major disappointment for me was the advertised 175 Hz frequency of this monitor. Now, don't get me wrong, this monitor can run at 175 Hz, but it can only do so with a very severe trade-off. And what I mean by that is you have to set it to 8-bit 422 chroma subsampling to be able to hit that 175 Hz rating. The end result is basically text becomes very difficult to read, and if you're doing any bit of productivity, it's just impossible to use. If you're purely gaming, maybe you can get away with it, but honestly, the trade-off is just too big in my opinion. 175 Hz is basically unusable. What you end up using is about 160 Hz, which allows you to run at 444 RGB at 8-bit color. 8-bit versus 10-bit is a very small difference, so you're not going to be able to see that difference, but the 444 versus 422 is a very big difference. So really, to me, this is a 160 Hz monitor in all intents and purposes, because you're never really going to be truly running at 175. That said, 160 is plenty fast. It's just a little deceiving on the advertising, and while it's true it is a 175 Hz monitor, it really shouldn't be. The third disappointment I have with the monitor is the Sphere 2.0 lighting system and LG's software that controls it. Now, just to clarify, when it's in static lighting or when it's cycling by itself, it's great, the effect is great, and the ambience is pretty nice. But in order to be able to project what you have on the screen to the back of the wall to kind of extend that effect that LG advertises, you have to run software on the computer, and you have to have a USB cable connecting the computer to the monitor. And it's the software that kind of lets down the whole system, because you have to have the software running to be able to project that, and it has to fire up every single time you load the desktop, and if you don't have the LG software running, you're not projecting anything. And there's a small latency delay from what you see on the desktop to what you see on the wall. There's just, the implementation is not very good, and if the application crashes or if it doesn't load, then basically you lose the whole effect. So I would have liked to see this implementation done hardware wise on the monitor itself, because it has a G6 module and knows what it's projecting. It would have been nice to be able to do this without any of the software or USB cables or whatever. So the implementation can be worked on a little bit. It's a little bit disappointing because the end effect or the usability is kind of, yeah. The second biggest disappointment for me is the persistence, or actually the lack of persistence, of the FPS counter. Now, this monitor does have an option in the menus where you can pull up an on-screen display to show your instantaneous FPS counter in the top left-hand corner. A lot of G-Sync monitors have this feature. For example, the Acer Predator monitors, it's in the top right-hand corner, and I've actually gotten really used to having this number at all times in the corner. The problem with this monitor is that every time you restart the computer, or if the monitor goes to sleep, that option or the FPS counter goes away. And it's built in the software where it just turns it off every time it goes to sleep or turns the monitor off. So it's working as intended, but that means I have to go into the options and select through the menus again just to bring that FPS counter back up again. Now, some of you say, well, it's just the FPS counter, why does it matter? Well, one, I've gotten really used to having a hardware FPS counter, and I really like that because I don't have to load up software FPS counters to see what kind of FPS I'm pulling. The second reason why it's important to me is some games just don't activate G-Sync 100% of the time. Like sometimes you fire up a game and G-Sync's working, and the next time you fire up a game, and if G-Sync just doesn't engage, and that FPS counter tells you if you're pulling 160 frames or if you're actually fluctuating up and down as G-Sync should be. So that's my little indication that G-Sync is working or it isn't working. So to me, that's actually a pretty important little feature. It could be potentially updated, fixed in a little update, but then again, it's working as intended. So again, it's a very small little thing, but it really, really annoys me that that number goes away every single time I restart the computer. At number one, the biggest disappointment for me about this monitor may actually be a deal breaker for some of you guys. There appears to be a bug in the monitor, or a issue with the firmware, where the monitor goes to sleep and comes back. The color profile changes from 444 full RGB to 422 chroma subsampling. So, and it's very apparent and it's very consistent. So for example, if I have a game running or doing something and I walk away, after 30 minutes, the monitor goes into sleep and it comes back with the text all blurry. And when you go on Google and you search up this issue, this seems to be a persistent issue, and not just me, other people have complained about it. So it seems to be a firmware issue. Maybe it's updatable, fixable, I'm not exactly sure. But it seems like I have to restart the computer to get it all reset back to full RGB. Remember I said something about the 175 Hertz, about the 422 being unusable? Well, every time the computer goes into sleep or the monitor goes into sleep, it switches into that mode and the text is unusable. So I think that's a very, very big issue. And to me, that is a deal breaker. So hopefully LG pushes out an update and fixes this soon. Alright, given the issues that I talked about with this monitor, that's kind of why I'm very interested in the Acer version of the 38-inch ultra-wide, the Acer X38 Predator monitor. That monitor is going to be using the exact same panel as the LG Nano IPS panel I've got here, and given that it's by Acer, the OSD is going to be different, and the firmware is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be Acer's own, and since it's going to also have a NVIDIA G-Sync module on the inside, I have a feeling that I'm probably going to be picking up that monitor as well, especially if this bug isn't fixed anytime soon. The only downside is that I think that monitor is going to be a little bit more expensive than this one right here. Some listings put it at about $2,400, so maybe $400, $500 more than this one. Again, we'll have to see what the price is when it actually launches. Hopefully this video gives you a pretty good understanding about some of the things to look out for the 38GL950G. And if this video helps you in your purchasing decisions, make sure to hit that like button and perhaps consider subscribing for future tech videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.